Whoa, hold on there, cowboy. I can see you staring saucy at those LG OLEDs and wondering to yourself whether it would be a good idea to pick one up for use as a monitor or a TV to use with your new gaming PC console or even just to watch movies. But before you pitch that tent any higher, I have to ask you to please, for the love of God, don't do it. Now, before we get into why I think almost nobody should be buying an LG WOLED display in 2023, first I have to admit that if you're unwilling to go above 42 inches, then yeah, WOLED might be your only choice, but I beg you to reconsider because what Samsung has available at 55 inches and up is so much vastly better that even if you're looking more for a monitor type size, if you can somehow rearrange your room to make space for 55 inches, it's well worth doing because while there was a time in which I thought using the LG C2 was like clenching a stick of butter between your cheeks, it and even the LG C3 simply can't compare to what Samsung has and is going to release with their Quantum Dot OLED displays. That's right, after hundreds of hours using WOLED and Quantum Dot OLED regularly, I can tell you with complete confidence there's only one true winner in 2023, and anyone who tells you otherwise is blowing smoke up your ass because the difference is substantial. The S95B and S95C and even some of their upcoming monitors will blow LG out of the water, and here's why. Now, the first reason as to why I say this is because Quantum Dot OLED simply has better color. Not only does it have more coverage, but just to your eye when you're sitting in Windows and you enable HDR, you're watching HDR in some sort of film, I can just tell very quickly whether or not I'm looking at a WOLED or a Quantum Dot OLED display. Quantum Dot OLED, even when they're both in their most accurate modes and they've both been completely professionally calibrated, Quantum Dot OLED just simply delivers far better color than WOLED currently can. Now, the LG G3 definitely does look better than the C2 and will look better than the C3 as well. However, the LG G3 still, in my opinion, won't quite match up to Quantum Dot OLED, even though it does definitely get closer. And on top of that, it's also going to be a lot more expensive than some of the Quantum Dot OLEDs out there already available, which in my opinion might actually still give you a better picture for a far lower price, which we'll talk about in just a second here. But yes, I do think that that white subpixel in WOLED does tend to wash out the screen a little bit at times and makes for a worse looking image than Quantum Dot OLED. The second reason is, well, Quantum Dot OLED has higher color brightness. So not only is Quantum Dot OLED typically brighter in general, but even if you take the S95C flagship from Samsung and you compare it to the LG G3 flagship from LG, well, what you're going to notice is that even though the LG G3 can keep up and sometimes, in some cases, actually technically give you higher peak white bright highlights, the S95C will often be much brighter when it comes to the color brightness, which in my opinion is probably going to be more impactful to you when you're actually using the display. The third reason is also Quantum Dot OLED displays from Samsung can do 144 Hz, whereas LG is still stuck to 120 Hz. So for you PC gamers out there, it's going to be a pretty easy choice in my opinion, as 144 Hz does, in my opinion, feel a lot better than 120 Hz, especially for competitive gaming. And then the final reason, much like I mentioned earlier, Quantum Dot OLED can technically be purchased for cheaper for a similar, if not slightly better picture than the LG G3. Now, when it comes to monitors, there's more room for discussion as we do have some decent monitors available from LG, although those things unfortunately do have a matte finish. So in my opinion, I wouldn't be purchasing any of those at all, as you can actually get a similarly priced Quantum Dot OLED ultra wide from Samsung, and there's actually going to be even brighter ones that should be coming out soon that are all glossy, whereas LG unfortunately is using a matte finish. So then when it comes to the monitor side, I definitely wouldn't be buying buying LG OLEDs as, yeah, you're not getting a glossy finish, but when it comes to their TVs, I still wouldn't be buying LG because the LG C2 and the LG C3 are not only nowhere near as bright or as good when it comes to the color when you compare it to, say, the S95B and S95C, but when you take a look at their flagship LG G3, well, it does technically close the gap in many ways to the S95B and S95C. The S95B can oftentimes be found for like $1,400 when they go on sale. Now, I'm not entirely sure what it is right now. It's probably somewhere between $1,400 to $1,600, but even if it's like $1,600, that is very expensive to be using for a display, especially for a PC gaming type of display if you're using it for that purpose. But even then, if you compare that to the LG G3, even if you were to say that the G3 was technically better than the S95B, which honestly I think is debatable, and I would personally actually pick the S95B because you can do stuff like go into the service menu and blast the brightness, which you cannot do on the LG displays, even though I don't recommend you do that. That's just something that I do, and I don't recommend you do. Even in that case, honestly, the LG G3 is like $3,300, and the S95B, again, can be somewhere between probably $1,400 to $1,600. So is it really worth spending like nearly $2,000 more to get maybe a better picture, but in my opinion, probably worse, especially if you go into the service menu? Yeah, I don't think so. So in the year of 2023, guys, with all that information that you now have, I just simply cannot recommend purchasing basically any LG OLED displays, whether it comes to TVs or monitors, unless there's some specific reason you want it, such as you want a 4K OLED, but you can't go over 42 inches. Okay, the LG C3 is probably gonna be your best choice. Or maybe you wanna have a 240 Hertz OLED display for the best pixel response time, but you don't wanna use ultrawide. Again, that makes sense. Then in that case, you would definitely go for that 240 Hertz LG or Asus monitor, depending on what more you're looking for. So there you have it, guys. There's my opinion. I really don't think that many people should be buying LG OLEDs in the year of 2023. It just seems like they're too expensive and not performant enough when you compare them to their Samsung counterparts. Whether you're looking to connect a new console, gaming PC, or just need a fast and reliable HDMI cable to connect over long distances, Rupro has you covered with their Rupro 8K HDMI 2.1 fiber optic cable, available in sizes ranging from 3 to 165 feet, and can deliver a perfect full 48 gigabits per second connection over distances other cables could only dream of reaching. And with 48 gigabits per second of bandwidth, it can easily drive 8K at 60 FPS or 4K at 120 FPS HDR10 video through its ultra-thin, flexible, and durable housing, and it even supports eARC. So if you're in the market for a cable that can drive a beautiful new TV or monitor, be sure to check out Rupro on Amazon today.